Chief Scientist Talvex stood frozen at his monitoring station. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he stared at the screen. The energy signature was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It came from a small blue planet in what the Galactic Council had labeled as a dead zone. Earth, a Class 12 death world. The signal originated from Seoul, South Korea. There, in a small art studio on the outskirts of the city, Ho-Jin worked late into the night. He didn't know he was about to change humanity's future forever. His latest art installation, which he called Quantum Dance, combined his engineering background with his artistic vision. Just a few more adjustments, Ho-Jin muttered to himself, carefully turning the dials on his quantum field generator. He had built it from modified microwave parts and old computer processors. Most people thought he was crazy when he explained how he was trying to capture quantum entanglement in art form. But Ho-Jin knew he was onto something special. The installation looked simple, a circle of 12 tall mirrors surrounding a central platform. But inside each mirror, Ho-Jin had installed his homemade quantum field generators. He wanted to create art that existed in multiple states at once, just like quantum particles. Back on the Galactic Council's research vessel, Talvex called his superior, First Observer Malix. "First Observer, you need to see this immediately," he said, his voice trembling. "The primitives on Earth, they're manipulating quantum fields." "Impossible," Malix replied sharply. "Their planet is barely suitable for life. They shouldn't even have discovered spaceflight yet." But the evidence was right there on the screen. The quantum patterns coming from Ho-Jin's art studio matched advanced theories that only 5 other species in the galaxy had mastered. In his studio, Ho-Jin switched on his installation for the first time. The mirrors hummed to life. In the center, light began to dance and split, creating beautiful patterns that seemed to exist everywhere and nowhere at once. Ho-Jin smiled, satisfied with his work. He didn't realize that his art piece was actually creating a stable quantum field network, something that alien scientists had spent centuries trying to achieve. "Get me a visual," Malix ordered, now standing behind Talvex's chair. The observation screen flickered to life, showing Ho-Jin's studio. Both aliens watched in shock as the human adjusted his creation with nothing more than basic tools and recycled parts. "Look at their tools. They're so primitive," Talvex exclaimed. "They're using are those cooking devices modified into quantum field generators." Malix leaned closer to the screen. "This changes everything. A species from a Class 12 death world shouldn't be capable of this level of innovation. They're using parts from their food preparation devices to manipulate quantum fields. It's beautiful in its simplicity." Ho-Jin stepped back to admire his work. The quantum patterns had stabilized into a mesmerizing dance of light and shadow. He took out his phone to record it, planning to share it online later. He thought about all the scientists who had dismissed his ideas about combining quantum mechanics with art. "Who's crazy now?" he said to himself, grinning. On the research vessel, alarms began to sound. "First Observer," another scientist called out. "The human's quantum field network. It's more stable than our best attempts, and he's done it with technology that's centuries behind ours." Malix made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Prepare for first contact," she ordered. "This species, these humans, they've done something extraordinary. They've turned their planet's harsh conditions into an advantage. Their creativity in the face of adversity is unlike anything we've seen before." As Ho-Jin reached to turn off his installation for the night, a soft blue light filled his studio. He turned around slowly and found himself face to face with 2 beings that were clearly not human. His first reaction wasn't fear, it was curiosity. "Hello," Ho-Jin said calmly, as if meeting aliens was an everyday occurrence. "Would you like to see how it works?" Talvex and Malix looked at each other in surprise. This human's reaction to their sudden appearance was not what they expected from a species that evolved on a death world. Instead of fear or aggression, he showed immediate interest in sharing knowledge. Yes, Malix replied, using their universal translator. We would very much like to learn how you achieved this with such basic tools. The Jinn smiled and began explaining his creation, not knowing that this conversation would mark the beginning of humanity's entrance into the galactic community. His art installation, born from creativity and built from recycled parts, had just proven that humans were far more capable than anyone in the galaxy had imagined. 2 weeks had passed since first contact, and the Galactic Council had chosen her to assess humanity's capabilities. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she found it amusing that she was now the one being studied. "Doctor, the Council representatives have arrived," her assistant announced. 3 aliens entered her lab. Their tall, slender forms towered over the humans present. The lead alien, Senior Evaluator Rainan, carried what looked like a tablet made of transparent crystal. "Dr. Ki-young," Rainan spoke through a translator device, "we must understand how your species has achieved so much despite your evolutionary disadvantages." Ki-young smiled politely. "Disadvantages? Perhaps you could explain what you mean." Rainan displayed a holographic image of Earth. "Your planet is classified as a Class 12 death world. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, dangerous predators, natural disasters, and harmful bacteria. Most species would never survive here, let alone develop advanced technology." "Ah," Ki-young said, walking to her desk. She picked up a simple pencil. "Let's start with this." The aliens stared at the wooden pencil with their large, multifaceted eyes. "This simple tool shows how we think," Ki-young explained. "We took graphite, a soft mineral, and wood from trees. We shaped them into a tool for sharing ideas. When it gets dull, we use the same material to make it sharp again. Nothing is wasted." Rainan recorded her words carefully. "But surely your species has better ways to record information now." "Of course," Ki-young said. "But we keep using pencils because they're reliable, simple, and work in almost any condition. They work in zero gravity, underwater if the wood is treated, in extreme cold or heat. They never run out of power." The second alien, Tech Analyst Vector, spoke up. "But your species has also developed quantum computers and artificial intelligence. How did you make such a leap?" Ki-young walked to her computer and pulled up images of early human writing, cave paintings, and the first computers. "We didn't leap. We climbed, step by step. Each generation built on what came before. When we couldn't fly, we watched birds and dreamed. When we couldn't survive the cold, we took furs from animals and learned to make clothes. Every problem made us more creative." The third alien, biology specialist Myra, moved closer to examine the images. "Our records show your species should have focused solely on survival. Yet you made art, music, and pursued knowledge that had no immediate survival value." "That's where you're wrong," Ki-young replied. "Art, music, storytelling, they helped us survive. They helped us share knowledge, build communities, and imagine better futures. A human who can imagine a better tool is more likely to create one." She led them to another room where various human inventions were displayed. "Look at this diving suit. We can't breathe underwater, so we made a way to explore the ocean. We can't fly, so we built planes. We turned our weaknesses into strengths." Rainan's translator crackled as he spoke. "But surely these limitations frustrated your development." Ki-young laughed softly. "Limitations bred creativity. When we couldn't run as fast as other animals, we invented ways to travel faster. When we couldn't fight with claws or fangs, we learned to make tools. Every limit pushed us to think differently." She pointed to a display showing human medical achievements. "We get sick easily compared to other Earth species, so we developed medicine. Our bodies break, so we learned to heal them. We die young compared to your species, so we work hard to make the most of our time." The aliens huddled together, discussing in their own language. Finally, Rainan turned back to Ki-young. "We came to assess if humans were ready for galactic civilization, but perhaps we should be learning from you instead." Why not both? Ki Young suggested. We may be young compared to your civilizations, but we have much to share and much to learn. As the aliens prepared to leave, Myra paused. One last question, Doctor. Why do humans keep trying even when something seems impossible? Ki Young picked up the pencil again. Because we believe that impossible just means we haven't found the right solution yet. Every problem is a puzzle waiting to be solved. She handed the pencil to Myra. Keep this. When you look at it, remember that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence. It's our refusal to accept limitations as final. The aliens left her lab that day with a simple wooden pencil and a completely new understanding of human nature. In their report to the Galactic Council, they wrote, "The human's greatest achievement isn't surviving on a death world. It's turning every challenge into an opportunity for growth." They don't just adapt to their environment, they transform it. And in doing so, they transform themselves. Jai-Ho stood before the Galactic Council's Architecture Committee, his hands steady as he adjusted the holographic display. Around him, aliens from 30 different worlds watched with varying degrees of interest and skepticism. Most of them came from planets with perfect weather and gentle gravity. They couldn't understand why anyone would want to live on Earth. "This is my design for a self-sustaining habitat in Death Valley," Jai-Ho said, pointing to the rotating 3D model, where summer temperatures can reach 56 degrees Celsius. The alien architects muttered among themselves. To them, building in such conditions seemed pointless. Why not just terraform the area to make it more habitable? "But why build there at all?" asked Chief Architect Zelmar, their crystalline form glittering under the chamber lights. "Surely there are more suitable locations on your planet." Jai-Ho smiled. "Because if we can build here, we can build anywhere. Watch this." He tapped the hologram, and the building's layers separated to show its inner workings. "The outer shell looks simple, but it's special," Jai-Ho explained. "We copied the design from desert beetles. When it's hot, the surface collects water from the air. When it's cold at night, it stores heat from the day." The alien architects leaned forward, their previous boredom forgotten. One of them, Tylin, raised a tentacle. "You copied an insect's shell for a building." "Yes," Jai-Ho said proudly. "Nature spent millions of years solving these problems. We learned to pay attention." He zoomed in on another part of the design. "See these patterns on the walls? They're like cactus spines. They create small air currents that cool the building." "Fascinating," Zelmar admitted. "But what about the intense storms your planet experiences?" Jai-Ho's eyes lit up. He pressed another button, and the hologram showed the building during a sandstorm. "The building moves," he explained, "like a reed in the wind. These flexible joints are based on human finger bones. When strong winds come, the building bends instead of breaking." The chamber filled with surprised clicks and whistles as the aliens discussed this concept. On their worlds, buildings were made to stand rigid and unmovable. "But the best part," Jai-Ho continued, "is how it powers itself." He highlighted the building's energy systems, the same heat that makes Death Valley dangerous. "We use it for power. The building's skin collects solar energy, like a lizard basking in the sun. The hot winds that blow through, they turn special turbines inside these vents. You turn the deadly elements of your world into advantages?" Tadlin asked, clearly amazed. "We have to," Jai-Ho replied. "Earth taught us that everything can be useful if you look at it the right way." He showed them more details: gardens that cleaned the air, walls that filtered dust from storms, and windows that adjusted their tint like human eyes. An architect from a gas giant world spoke up. "Could these principles work on other planets?" "That's the beauty of it," Jai-Ho said. "These aren't just buildings. They're lessons in adaptation. We've already started modifying this design for underwater cities and Mars colonies." He pulled up images of similar buildings already working on Earth, one in the Sahara Desert, another in the Antarctic, and a third in the Amazon rainforest. Each one used the local environment's challenges as solutions. On Earth, we can't control the weather or change gravity, Jai-Ho explained. So we learned to work with nature instead of fighting it. Every problem is a gift in disguise. It pushes us to think differently. Zelmar stood up, their crystalline form catching the light. We came here expecting to teach humans about advanced architecture. Instead, you have shown us a new way of thinking. Jai-Ho nodded respectfully. That's another lesson we learned on Earth. Everyone has something to teach, and everyone has something to learn. As the committee meeting ended, aliens crowded around Jai-Ho's hologram, asking questions and taking notes. They had never seen buildings that worked with their environment instead of trying to overcome it. Some were already talking about applying these ideas to their own worlds. Later that day, Jai-Ho received a message from the Galactic Council. They wanted him to lead a new team of human and alien architects. Their mission: to design buildings that could work on any world, using local conditions as advantages rather than obstacles. As he packed up his designs, Jai-Ho thought about how far humans had come. They had turned their harsh planet's challenges into opportunities for innovation. Now those same innovations would help them build homes among the stars. Every problem is a puzzle, he said to himself, echoing what Dr. Ki-Young had told the assessment team. And humans are very good at solving puzzles. Today, Sun Mai announced, I will show you why humans are considered dangerous despite our physical limitations. She wore a simple training uniform and carried no weapons. General Caxter, a massive alien with armored skin and natural blade-like extensions, leaned forward. How can you demonstrate combat without weapons? Your species has no claws, no armor, no venom. Sun Mi smiled. That's exactly why we're dangerous. We had to think differently. She gestured to a row of training dummies. These represent different alien species we might face in combat. Notice how we studied each one's strengths and weaknesses. She walked to the first dummy, designed like a large predatory alien. This species is 3 times stronger than a human, but look at its joints. Sun Mi pointed to specific spots. Every strength comes with a weakness. We learned this on Earth by hunting animals much stronger than ourselves. The alien council members watched as Sun Mi demonstrated various human martial arts moves. She showed how humans could use an opponent's strength against them, how they learned to target weak points, and how they developed techniques to overcome larger predators. But this is just basic combat, Sun Mi continued. Humans realized early that we needed more than just our bodies to survive. She picked up a simple stick. This is how it started. We turned simple things into tools. General Caxter made a dismissive sound. A stick against modern weapons. Watch, Sun Mi said. She demonstrated how humans had developed weapons from simple tools, explaining how each invention came from observing nature and solving problems. We saw how snakes strike and created spears. We watched birds dive and designed aircraft. Every natural ability we lacked, we learned to replicate and improve. She moved to a holoscreen showing Earth's military history. But our real strength isn't in our weapons. It's in how we think about combat. The screen showed various battle strategies from human history. We learned from everything, Sun Mi explained. We watched how ants defend their nests and applied it to our fortifications. We studied how wolves hunt in packs and developed team tactics. When we couldn't outfight our enemies, we learned to outsmart them. One of the alien observers, Security Chief Yendu, spoke up. But surely direct combat is more efficient. Sun Mi shook her head. Not always. Humans learned that the smartest fight is the one you don't have to have. She showed examples of human diplomatic solutions, defensive strategies, and deterrence tactics. On Earth, we had to survive against animals that could run faster, hit harder, and see better than us, she continued. We couldn't win through strength alone, so we learned to use our minds. Every limitation forced us to become more creative. She demonstrated more techniques, showing how humans had turned simple movements into effective defense methods. We developed thousands of different fighting styles, each adapted to different situations. But more importantly, we learned when not to fight. The Alien Council watched in fascination as Sunmei showed how humans had developed non-lethal weapons and containment methods. Sometimes the bravest thing is showing mercy, she explained. We learned that victory doesn't always mean destroying your opponent. General Caxter stood up. You're saying that being physically weak made humans stronger? In a way, yes, Sunmei replied. Because we couldn't rely on natural weapons, we had to understand combat at a deeper level. We had to think about why we fight, not just how. She ended her demonstration by showing how humans had turned their understanding of combat into peaceful applications, rescue techniques, emergency response methods, and protective systems. Our greatest weapon isn't our technology or our tactics, Sunmei concluded. It's our ability to learn from everything around us. We turned our weaknesses into strengths by never stopping to learn, adapt, and improve. As the Alien Council members filed out of the arena, they spoke in hushed tones about what they had seen. They had expected to see advanced weapons and combat techniques. Instead, they had witnessed something more valuable: the human ability to turn disadvantages into advantages through creativity and observation. General Caxter stayed behind to speak with Sunmei. Your species continues to surprise us, he said. You've shown us that true strength isn't in natural weapons, but in how you think about using them. Sunmei bowed slightly. That's the most important lesson humanity learned. It's not about being the strongest or fastest. It's about being clever enough to find a better way. Du-hyun walked onto the stage of the Galactic Innovation Summit, carrying nothing but a small bag of children's building blocks. The huge auditorium was filled with the galaxy's brightest minds, all waiting to see what this human quantum physicist would present. Distinguished beings, Du-hyun began, his voice clear and calm. Today, I'm not going to show you complex equations or advanced technology. Instead, I'm going to show you how humans think. He emptied the colorful blocks onto a table that projected its surface as a giant hologram for everyone to see. Many alien scientists shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had expected charts, graphs, and mathematical formulas. On Earth, Du-hyun continued, we teach our children with toys like these. We let them build, break things apart, and rebuild them. This is how we learn to solve problems. He started arranging the blocks into different shapes. When I work on quantum physics problems, I don't just see numbers. I see shapes, patterns, and connections, like a child playing with blocks. An alien scientist named Rao Ven raised their appendage. But quantum mechanics requires precise calculations and complex mathematics. How can toys help with that? Do-hyun smiled. Watch this. He arranged the blocks into a spiral pattern. This is how I visualize the problem of quantum entanglement that Ho-jin solved with his art installation. Each block represents a quantum state. The alien scientists leaned forward as Do-hyun moved the blocks around, explaining complex quantum principles using simple shapes and patterns. He showed how changing one block affected others, just like entangled particles. Humans are visual thinkers, he explained. When we don't understand something, we try to see it in our minds. We make models, draw pictures, build things with our hands. This helps us understand complex ideas. He projected some of history's greatest scientific discoveries alongside his blocks. Look at DNA's double helix structure. Scientists first imagined it by building models with cards and metal plates. The periodic table. It came from someone arranging elements in a pattern like a puzzle. The alien scientists watched in fascination as Do-hyun demonstrated how humans had solved complex problems by turning them into visual puzzles. He showed how Einstein had imagined riding on a beam of light, how Tesla visualized rotating magnetic fields, and how modern scientists used virtual reality to walk through molecular structures. But here's what makes humans different, Do-hyun said, rearranging the blocks again. We don't just solve problems, we play with them. We try crazy ideas. We make mistakes and learn from them. We dream. He invited some alien scientists to try solving puzzles with the blocks. Many of them struggled, trying to calculate the perfect solution instead of experimenting and learning through trial and error. See, Do-hyun pointed out, you're looking for the right answer. We look for many possible answers. Sometimes the best solution comes from a mistake or a crazy idea that shouldn't work, but does. An alien child who had come with their scientist parent suddenly walked onto the stage. Instead of stopping them, Do-hyun invited them to play with the blocks. The child immediately began creating new shapes, not worried about making mistakes. Look, Do-hyun said excitedly. This child is thinking like a human scientist. No fear of being wrong, just pure curiosity and creativity. The alien scientists watched in wonder as the child created complex patterns without any calculations. It was playing, but it was also solving problems in its own way. This is why humans advanced so quickly on our harsh world, Do-hyun explained. We never stopped playing, exploring, and imagining. Every problem became a puzzle to solve. Every mistake became a lesson, and every crazy idea became a possibility. As the summit ended, many alien scientists approached Do-hyun, not to discuss quantum physics, but to learn more about human teaching methods. They had realized that humanity's greatest contribution to science wasn't their discoveries, but their way of thinking about problems. The alien child's parent, a renowned mathematician, spoke last. We've been teaching pure logic and calculations, they said, but you've shown us that imagination and play are just as important in science. Do-hyun handed the child a few blocks to keep. Remember, he told the gathered scientists, the greatest discoveries often come not from knowing all the answers, but from being willing to play with the questions. The emergency meeting room of the Galactic Council was in chaos. A star in the Proxima system was becoming unstable, threatening 3 inhabited planets. The most advanced species in the galaxy had gathered to find a solution, but none of their high-tech proposals seemed workable. Yoo-jin sat quietly in the corner, drawing in her notebook. As Earth's emergency response expert, she had been invited to observe, but no one expected a human to solve a problem of this scale. After all, humans had only recently learned to travel between stars. Our containment field technology isn't strong enough, one alien scientist announced. And we can't evacuate 3 planets in time, another added. Yoo-jin looked up from her notebook. What if we don't need to do either of those things? She asked softly. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. Some aliens looked curious, others skeptical. Chief Scientist Vector, who remembered Hee-jin's quantum art installation, gestured for her to continue. Yoo-jin walked to the central display and pulled up an image of an ancient Korean fishing net. On Earth, we learned long ago that sometimes the simplest solutions work best. When you can't stop something powerful, you redirect it. She drew a simple diagram next to the fishing net. The star's energy is like a river. Instead of trying to dam it up, what if we channel it? Impossible. One alien scientist scoffed. The energy output is too massive. Yoo-jin smiled and pulled up another image, this time of an old water wheel. On Earth, we learned to use the power of rivers to grind grain and generate electricity. We didn't fight the river. We worked with it. She quickly sketched out her idea. Instead of trying to contain the star's energy, they could set up a series of simple satellites in a net-like pattern. Each satellite would act like a small water wheel, converting the star's excess energy into usable power. But the technology needed would be too advanced, another alien protested. Actually, Yoo-jin said, we can build these satellites using existing technology. Sometimes the best solutions don't need new inventions. They just need new ways of using what we already have. She showed them the design. The satellites were simple, using technology that even humans had mastered. What made them special was their arrangement, a pattern copied from fishing nets that had been used on Earth for thousands of years. Look, she explained, pointing to her diagram. When one part of a fishing net gets too much strain, the force spreads out across all the other parts. These satellites will work the same way. If the star's energy spikes in one area, the whole network will share the load. The alien scientists began running calculations. To their surprise, the simple solution had a high probability of success. By spreading out the star's excess energy across a large network, no single point would have to handle too much power. But what about the energy we collect? Someone asked. There will be too much to store. Jin nodded. That's the best part. We can use it to power terraforming projects on uninhabitable planets. Turn a crisis into an opportunity. As the aliens discussed her plan, Jin explained how humans had learned this approach through centuries of dealing with natural disasters on Earth. When we couldn't prevent earthquakes, we learned to build buildings that could sway with them. When we couldn't stop floods, we built channels to direct the water where it could help instead of harm. The council members were amazed. While they had been looking for a way to fight the star's energy with advanced technology, this human had found a way to use it instead. It was exactly the kind of thinking that had helped humanity survive on their dangerous homeworld. Sometimes, Jin said, the biggest problems don't need the biggest solutions. They just need a different way of looking at them. Within hours, the council approved her plan. Ships from every advanced species began constructing the satellite network, using her simple but effective design. The crisis that had seemed impossible to solve was being turned into the biggest power collection project in galactic history. As Jin watched the construction begin through the council's viewing window, she thought about all the ancient human technologies that had inspired her solution. Our ancestors were pretty smart, she whispered to herself. They knew that working with nature is better than fighting it. The crisis that had threatened to destroy 3 worlds was becoming a source of power that would help develop dozens more. And it all started with a human looking at an ancient fishing net. Minho stood in the center of the massive exhibition hall on the Galactic Council's central station. Around him, holographic displays showed Earth's history of innovation, from the first stone tools to the latest quantum computers. Aliens from thousands of worlds moved through the exhibits, their eyes, sensors, and other sensing organs taking in the story of human creativity. Welcome to the human path, Minho announced to a new group of visitors. Today, I'll show you how humans turned problems into solutions throughout our history. He led them to the first display, which showed early humans making fire. This was perhaps our most important discovery, he explained. Fire scared us at first. It could destroy our homes and kill us, but we learned to control it. A young alien raised a tentacle. Why take such a risk? Minho picked up a piece of charred wood from a display case. Because we saw possibilities. Fire kept us warm in cold weather. It scared away dangerous animals. It made hard food soft and safe to eat. Most importantly, it taught us that dangerous things could become helpful tools. The next display showed the development of farming. We were hungry, so we watched how plants grew and copied nature's methods. Minho explained. When insects ate our crops, we learned from spiders and made nets. When birds ate our seeds, we learned to plant them deeper. He moved to a section about human homes. Different buildings from throughout history floated as holograms around them. Each type of house solved a different problem, he said. Ice houses in the north, cool houses in the desert, houses on stilts in flood areas. Every problem made us think harder. An alien scientist studied a display about medicine. Your species seems to get sick very easily, they noted. Yes, Minho agreed. But that pushed us to learn about healing. We watched animals eat certain plants when they were sick. We learned which molds could fight infections. Our weaknesses made us look closer at everything around us. The exhibition continued through human history. There were displays about wheels, boats, writing, and mathematics. Each invention came with a story about the problem it solved. But here's what makes humans special, Minho said, stopping at a large display. It showed thousands of different solutions to the same problems. We never stopped trying new ideas. Look at all these different ways we invented to cross rivers, to make light, to send messages. The aliens were particularly interested in a section about human mistakes. You show your failures, one asked, surprised. Minho nodded. Some of our best discoveries came from mistakes. We tried to make one thing and created something completely different. Instead of giving up, we asked, what else could this be used for? He showed them how a failed heart medicine became a helpful garden tool, how a mistake in cooking led to a new type of plastic, how accidents in labs led to life-saving discoveries. Humans love to play what if, Minho explained. What if we tried this? What if we combined these things? What if we did this differently? Every question led to new ideas. The final section of the exhibition showed current human innovations. Here, visitors could see how old ideas were being used in new ways. Simple Earth technologies were helping solve problems on other worlds. Look at this, Minho said, pointing to a display about space farming. We're using techniques that desert farmers developed thousands of years ago to grow food on dry planets. Old solutions solving new problems. A group of alien children gathered around a hands-on area where they could try simple human tools. They laughed as they figured out how to use levers, pulleys, and wheels. That sound, Minho said to their parents, that laughter while learning, that's very human. We turn problems into games, challenges into fun. It's how we teach our children to think creatively. As the day ended, an alien elder approached Minho. We expected to see advanced technology, they said. Instead, you showed us something more valuable. How to think in new ways. Minho smiled. That's the real human story. It's not about the things we made. It's about learning to see problems as opportunities. Every challenge that tried to kill us just taught us to be more creative. He looked around at the exhibits, at the story of human innovation spanning thousands of years. We're not the strongest or smartest species, he said, but we might be the most curious. And curiosity, combined with creativity, can solve almost any problem. Young Su waited outside the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council. Today was special. Earth would be officially recognized for its unique contributions to galactic civilization. As Earth's ambassador, he carried with him a simple gift that represented humanity's approach to problems. Inside the chamber, representatives from 10,000 worlds sat in rising tiers that reached toward the distant ceiling. The chamber looked like a giant bowl made of crystal and light, with each delegation's area adjusted to their specific environmental needs. Ambassador Young Su, the council speaker, announced, "Please step forward." Young Su walked to the center of the chamber. Above him, massive screens showed scenes from the past few months. He Jin's quantum art, Dr. Ki Young's explanations of human adaptation, Jaho's living buildings, Sun Li's defense demonstrations, Du Hyun's block lessons, Yu Jin's star net, and Minho's exhibition. Honor Council, Young Su began, his voice clear and steady. Before you officially recognize Earth, I would like to show you one more example of human thinking. He pulled out an old wooden puzzle box from Korea. It looked simple, made of dark wood with beautiful patterns carved on its surface. This is a traditional puzzle box, he explained. It has been passed down in my family for generations. The alien representatives watched curiously as Young Su held up the box. This box has no locks, no electronic parts, no quantum mechanics, yet it can take years to learn all its secrets. He pressed different parts of the patterns in a specific order. The box made soft clicking sounds. Every time you think you've solved it, you find another hidden compartment, another secret. It teaches us that there's always more to learn. Young Su opened one compartment of the box, revealing a small mirror inside. See, the first lesson is to look at yourself. Understand your own limitations before trying to solve bigger problems. He opened another section, showing a set of small wooden pieces that could form different shapes. The second lesson is that the same pieces can solve different puzzles if you look at them in new ways. The council members leaned forward as young Sue demonstrated how the simple box contained dozens of puzzles, each teaching a different lesson about problem solving. "This is how humans think," he explained. "We see every problem as a puzzle waiting to be solved. We know there might be hidden solutions we haven't found yet. We keep looking, keep trying new approaches." The head of the council, a being made of pure energy, spoke. "Your species has shown us many such examples. You turn simple things into complex solutions, and complex problems into simple answers." Young Sue nodded. "Because we had to. Earth taught us that survival isn't about being the strongest or having the best technology. It's about being able to think in new ways." He showed them the final compartment of the puzzle box. Inside was a small seed. "This is from a tree that only grows on Earth. It can survive forest fires. In fact, it needs fire to open and release its seeds." The chamber was silent as the aliens considered this, a species that could turn fire, one of the most destructive forces, into a tool for creating new life. "This is why we're different," young Sue continued. "We don't just adapt to our environment. We learn from it. Every danger becomes a teacher. Every problem becomes an opportunity." The head of the council raised their energy form. "Then let it be recorded. Earth is hereby recognized not just as a member of the galactic community, but as a special advisor on creative solutions. Your human thinking will help us solve problems we never knew how to approach before." Young Sue bowed and presented the puzzle box as Earth's gift to the council. "Thank you. But remember, the box itself isn't important. What matters is what it teaches us, that there's always another way to look at a problem, always another solution to find." As the ceremony ended, alien representatives crowded around young Sue, asking about human problem-solving methods. They had finally understood that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their resilience, but in their way of thinking. "Every child on Earth plays with puzzles like this," young Sue told them. "We grow up learning that problems are just puzzles waiting to be solved. That's why we never stop looking for new solutions, even when we think we've found the answer." The recognition ceremony marked a new chapter in galactic history. Humanity had proven that sometimes the best solutions come not from advanced technology, but from learning to think in new ways. John walked down the quiet street. The sun was starting to set, and the air was getting cool. He pulled his jacket a little tighter. It had been a long day at work, and he was tired. All he wanted to do was get home, eat some dinner, and relax. As he turned the corner onto his street, he noticed something strange. There was an odd green glow coming from the direction of his house. He squinted, trying to see better in the fading light. Was that smoke rising from his yard? Worried now, he walked faster. When his house came into view, he stopped in shock. His front yard was a mess. The grass was burned in a big circle pattern. Small flames still flickered in spots, and in the center of the burned area was a strange metal object. It looked a bit like a small spaceship about the size of a car. John approached carefully. The metal object was like nothing he had ever seen before. It wasn't like any airplane or helicopter. The surface was smooth and silvery with no seams or rivets. Colored lights blinked around what looked like portholes. He reached out a hand to touch it and quickly pulled back. It was so hot. He circled around the object, examining it from all sides. On the opposite side from where he started, he noticed an opening. It looked like a door had folded down to create a ramp. Smoke or steam rose from the opening. He leaned in closer to peer into the dark interior. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the opening. John jumped back in fright. The figure was about the size and shape of a person, but it wasn't human. It had grayish-green skin, an oversized bald head, and huge black eyes. It was wearing some kind of shiny silver suit. John's heart raced as the strange creature stepped out of the ship. He wanted to turn and run away, but he was frozen in place. The alien raised a hand and said,